This is Next Radio 2016 with Broadcast Bionics. Innovative solutions for creative people.
So the music industry is going through seismic change right now. And I'm going to tell you how basketball can save the music industry. So my name is Sam Potts. I'm the head of radio at Columbia Records. So most of the time you'll know me as the guy that incessantly emails you, calls you all the time, tries to get my music and my artists on the radio. And most of the time you don't get back to me. So when I got called up to do this, I was like, wait a minute, so you want me to come down to the biggest radio conference in the UK and stand up in front of the great and the good of the radio industry, and you guys have to listen to me? That's amazing for me. That's amazing. But I really want to talk about not my records and not my artists, you'll be glad to know, but actually I want to talk about my 5 main passions in life. So basically I did a business studies degree. I have 1 foot in the radio industry, 1 foot in the music industry. I run a startup called BuzzJam, and I also work with young people in the media industry through my work with Young Guns Network, which is a network for young people that I founded a couple of years ago. Now, it's an absolutely fascinating time to be part of the music industry right now. The pace of change is breathtaking. The most fundamental change we've experienced recently is in a world of streaming, consumption and discovery are the same thing now. So the old way of doing things was we got records on the radio, or we hoped to get records on the radio. We tried to get them on TV, we tried to get nice things said about them in the press, and we put a couple of posters up. And after around 8 to 12 weeks or so of that discovery period, hopefully you'd go out to iTunes, you'd go out to HMV, and you'd buy the record. But now we have a situation where a play on a streaming service is feasibly any part of the customer experience journey. We are actually monetizing the public's engagement in music now. We need to keep them coming back over and over again to a streaming service. And the currency of that engagement is a play on a streaming service. And this presents a massive challenge to record labels who have been pretty much doing the same thing for around 140,000 years, which is basically selling music and in whatever format we could put it out at the time. And it's probably the same sort of challenge a lot of us are facing right now in the industry. How do we keep up with the changing habits of our audience? So these are really important to talk about. These are our artists, especially at Sony Music, these ones. Without them, we are nothing. No matter what the technological change, they are the core of what we do. But the challenge for us is how we take this creativity and turn it into digitally mediated experiences. And that's why I think we should be more like agents for our artists' creativity, rather than just companies that sell music. And for that, we need a culture of innovation. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this guy. His name's Ries. Some of you may know him. He is the author of a book called The Lean Startup. He is the Drake of contemporary startup thinking. Okay, he doesn't look like Drake, but I'm telling you, he's the top dog. So when I read this first, actually, I was really relieved. I'd always wanted to be part of a startup. I always wanted to be part of run my own business. And I always thought that would mean leaving Columbia Records, trying to find some funding, work out what I wanted to do. But actually, as Eric puts it, it's just a group of people searching for a business model under extreme uncertainty. They're basically a bunch of people experimenting. He says entrepreneurs are everywhere. He says the fundamental activity of a startup is to turn ideas into products, measure the customer reaction, and then learn whether to pivot or persevere. And to do this process over quickly as possible, over and over again. It's a build, measure, learn culture. And I think if you're a record label or anyone in the media industry right now, we should be doing this as quickly as we can. We should be using this approach to everything we do. We should be turning ideas into products, and that means building a culture of innovation. So, how do we create a culture where everyone in the record everyone in a company can be an entrepreneur, come up with new ideas and turn them into products. So how does basketball save the music industry? Okay, so this guy is Joe Lacob. Now, he's a very rich Silicon Valley financer, and he bought the Golden State Warriors NBA team in 2010. He bought them for $450 million. They were a crap team then. They hadn't won a season in ages, like 40 years. They're now worth $2 billion, and they won the NBA final last year. So how did he do it? Well, he used a build, measure, learn, startup approach, and a lot of the hallmarks of Silicon Valley management techniques. Now, basketball is an old game. Just like running a record label, just like running a radio station, it requires skill, creativity, experience. But what Joe did was he took a totally unorthodox approach to running this team. He built a culture of innovation. Now, what you're seeing here is their star player, Stephen Curry. And this is basically the absolute core of what his innovation that he brought in first. You'll see him running past that black line, running back outside that black line to take the shot. Runs in, runs back out, he takes the shot. And that's because everything on the right-hand side of that line, every shot taken for there is 1 point. Every shot taken on the left-hand side of that line is 3 points. So what he did is he actually measured all of the player behavior in the NBA. And what he realized was, basically, most players were taking just the same amount of shots just inside that line as they were outside of that line. So basically, he saw the three-pointer as a market inefficiency. So basically, he made the whole team's game plan around making his players just take a few steps back before taking that shot. And that increased that point scoring by 43%. Now, it seems simple, seems really simple. But no one else was doing it like that at the time. And now it's changed the way modern basketball is played. But it wasn't just that made a difference. He created a culture of openness and collaboration. He allowed his team to challenge him. He's open, he's available, and more importantly, he listened. Now, what I love about this example is that formerly, before this point, NBA teams were typically authoritarian run. It was a tyrannical boss running around, making all the decisions, calling all the shots. I'm sure we all know what that's like. But I think the most crucial thing that Joe Lacob did was he recognized that a good idea can come from anywhere in the business. And he created a culture that allowed those ideas to surface. Okay, so this is Nick Uren. He's basically the coach's assistant. He's right down in the pecking order. Now, so basically it was the final game of the NBA Finals last year. They were a game down. They were almost close to losing the whole thing. Nick had noticed a potential weakness in the opposing team's strategy, and he came up for an idea of changing the lineup of the team to exploit that strategy. It was a really, really risky idea. It meant taking off the star player, putting a player back in that hadn't barely played a game that year, but he thought it would work. His boss listened to that idea. They changed the lineup in that final game, and it worked a dream. They won the NBA final last year. Now, it's worth reflecting on that just for a moment. The NBA Finals was won because a guy who decides what music they listen to at training and basically gets the coach to his meetings on time came up with a literally game-changing idea, and there they are, enjoying it. This is massively inspiring stuff. Now, I'm happy to say at Sony Music, we're building a culture of innovation right now. And as of quite recently, anyone in the business can come up with an idea. And if it's good enough, you'll be given some money and you're given the help and the guidance to see that idea through. And I've already experienced what this is like myself. I came up with an idea for an event that would draw attention to Sony Music artists in an unconventional way, something that would allow us to build our own media value. It's called Buzz Jam. It basically teams Sony Music artists up with teams of computer coders. We did it last night this year at Red Bull Studios. It trended at 2 on Twitter right behind the X Factor. Being empowered to see this idea through was incredible, and giving the funding to make it happen. This is what makes me get up really early in the morning and what makes me stay late at night. It fills me with great admiration for my company that they allow me to do this. So now is the time for a build, measure, learn culture. Now is the time for a focus on innovation and an unorthodox approach to an old game. And if you're a young person in the media industry right now, you've probably got ideas. You probably see the world slightly differently to your boss. Well, I urge you to take these ideas and turn them into products. And for those of you in the audience who are these young people's bosses, let them build these ideas. Let them turn them into products. Build a culture where a good idea can come from anywhere. And when they do come up with that game-changing idea, make sure you give them the credit. Thank you.
This is Next Radio 2016 with Broadcast Bionics. Innovative solutions for creative people.